Coming up next on America's Horse. Italy welcomes the world's best reiners for the 2005 FEI World Reining Masters Championship. We'll have complete coverage of this year's event. Just outside Verona, you can find the American quarter horse living the Italian dream. We'll meet a man whose passion for the breed is helping spread the Western lifestyle to Europe and anybody else who'll listen. The biggest names in reining compete for a world title. Will the Americans repeat as champions, or can Italy turn its home field advantage into gold? An event you'll see nowhere else. The 2005 FEI World Reining Masters Championship next on America's Horse.
America's Horse, the international report on the world's most versatile equine breed, the American Quarter Horse.
Hi and welcome to America's Horse. I'm Jennifer Reynolds in Italy, where riders from 17 nations have competed for the right to represent their countries here at the FEI World Reining Masters Championship. It's a country known for the finer things in life, fine wines and dining, historic cities filled with art and music, and a home for romantics young and old. Go outside the cities, though, and you'll find another passion in this part of the world. Reining.
Very passionate about the reining sport here in Europe. It reminds me of the way it was back in the States when I was 10 or 12 years old. Everybody stays up at night and watches everybody's school, and there's a big crowd in the middle of the night or when they're schooling. It's really neat.
I think reining combines some of the aspects of the disciplines I grew up with. There's the precision of dressage, there's the speed of show jumping, there is the mental requirement and toughness of show jumping, that you have to learn a pattern, you have to be very precise in its execution. Just as in learning a show jumping course, you have to know the order of the jumps and you have to know where you want to make the turn. And there is a very fine line between win and lose. That's where the thrill is.
It's also one of the reasons why 24 reiners from around the world have come to Minervio, Italy to participate in the second FEI World Reining Masters Finals this weekend. One of the reluctant stars in this competition is Shane Borland, representing the country of South Africa. He's the first finalist from the continent of Africa, where there are approximately 100 reiners in countries like South Africa and Zimbabwe. Shane began his riding career as a polo player, but found reining a challenge he couldn't pass up. Qualifying for this event was overwhelming.
It's unbelievable. It's a dream come true. I mean, it was only from April this year that this was just an idea. We were working towards World Equestrian Games next year, and this was just a possibility, but it's become a reality now, as has the World Equestrian Games, and it's just fantastic to be here.
The experience of competing with some of the world's best reiners is also a new experience for Shane.
Yes, I've been lucky enough to meet one or two of them prior to this event, but obviously it's great to meet them at a show and sort of in the competition scenario. But I try not to think about them too much. I've got my own job to get on with, and as much respect I have for them, I'm here to do a job too. So we'll see how we go.
Jürgen Pieper of Germany is another good example of how passionate the world is about the sport of reining. He's riding a horse called GB Jack. They've competed together the past 3 years, and when given the opportunity to buy the horse, it was more than just Jürgen's decision.
The owner said, I bring him to you if you buy 10% of the horse. And I just get married with my wife, and the money we take from the party, we say, okay, we buy the horse. And now he's here.
Oh, that's a good wife, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, we said this was the money we want to make a journey, a Hollywood journey.
Like a honeymoon?
Yeah, honeymoon.
Oh, you spent your honeymoon money on the horse?
Yes, and now 4 years we ride and go from show to show, and we have no time for the journey, but sometimes.
Oh yes, GB Jack.
And you let him spend the honeymoon money on the horse. On the horse. Is that okay?
Yes, yes. It was my idea.
He was my horse at the beginning of my riding, and he always stays behind me, and is a very good horse. He's a very good-hearted, and I love him.
The favorites for this competition have to be the Americans. Tim McQuay and Craig Smersall won the opportunity to represent the U.S. in Lexington, Kentucky at the United States Equestrian Federation Reining Championship. Both riders are recognized around the world for their skill and success in the sport, but representing the red, white, and blue still means a little something extra.
Anytime when you walk in there with the American flag on your shirt or whatever, it's a whole another level of competition. It's cool for us cowboys, you know. You grow up watching the Olympics and you don't think that you'd ever be a part of that because you like to ride horses, and now it's a possibility.
You hear a lot about reining being a family. Well, here's a case in point. Craig Smersall always nicknames his horses after the person he bought them from. In this case, he calls Tidal Wave Jack Timmy because he bought him years ago from his teammate, Tim McQuay. When we return, passion and Italy go hand in hand, and so do Eleuterio Archesi and American quarter horses. The story of how he's spreading the word about the world's most versatile equine breed, next on America's Horse. Welcome back to America's Horse. The love of the American quarter horse knows no borders. And here in Italy, we have found a man whose passion for the breed has inspired him to share the Western lifestyle with the world. In the heart of northern Italy, between the Italian Alps and Lake Garda, the American quarter horse has found a home. The 100-acre Archesi Ranch is a showplace for the dreams of one man and the accomplishments of his American quarter horses. The bloodlines running through Eleuterio Archesi's broodmares and stallions are a who's who of some of Reining's best.
My important horses have come one after the other. The one that's remained in my heart is Sophie Oak. Surprise Enterprise has been a very important horse for me. And of course, the Spirit of Five. She was a mare that meant a lot.
The most significant stallion in the Archesi program is Surprise Enterprise. With a long list of reining championships to his credit, Surprise Enterprise retired here in the early 90s and helped the Archesis build a dominant breeding program.
I like to breed horses and sell babies to people that then can go out there and do something, because that's what will make them carry on loving this sport and wanting to go further.
Whether mares or stallions, Archesi horses have been nothing short of successful in the performance arena. Sophie Oak was the 1986 NRHA Futurity Champion. Surprise Enterprise won the NRHA Super Stakes in 1989, the Super Stakes Open in 1990, and the AQHA Senior Reining World Championship also that year. Chick Please, another Archesi champion, has performed well in the NRHA and NRCHA with lifetime earnings over $200,000. A true advocate of American quarter horses, Eleuterio Archesi's satisfaction is in his horses' results.
If somebody buys a horse from me and they win or they do well, that makes me feel good. If you sell a prospect that doesn't work, that doesn't make me feel like I'm doing my job.
Mr. Archesi takes all his jobs seriously, starting with the first truck he owned at age 30. From it, he built the largest on-road transport company in Europe. The first, is that though the first one? The first futurity check. That competitive drive can be seen in everything he does. The Archesi Trophy Room is packed with championship mementos, but he's not done. His goal is the top of reining, and that goes straight through America.
It's not competing against the Americans, competing against the best American riders, because the U.S. have the best riders. Today, the U.S. reiners, open riders are the best. Or rather, the best reiners we have in the world are American. He says, you know, South Africa and Czechoslovakia are beginning now, and we hope they grow, but that's not where my competition comes in.
Italy, he believes, is well on its way to the top.
But the fact of being able to bring here some of the best quarter horses in the world, having them over here in Italy, is another of my greatest satisfaction. And I have to say that best quarter horses that are in Italy have all been imported by me. Every year, my company and the companies I work for put together the money to put up higher purses in reining competitions here. And as far as prize money is concerned, in Italy now we're the ones that offer the highest purses in reining competitions in Europe.
Mr. Archesi's 4 children are also involved with breeding and showing, and for all of them, it's become more than a business.
I believe, though, that in anything you do in life, if you do it, like I tend to use this word a lot, with passion, then it'll work. If you don't put the passion in it, anything you do, you may as well not do it. Personally, my dreams have more than come true. I've had so much from all this. I know that there's always space for things to get better, but I've been a really lucky man.
Eleuterio Archesi jokes that everybody in the family loves horses except maybe his wife, who thinks they cost too much. But since she's seen how much joy and togetherness they bring the family, he says she thinks the cost is worth it. When America's Horse returns, we'll go back to the Pala Sturla in Minerbio, Italy, and see who will be crowned the 2005 World Reining Masters Champion next. 22 riders from 17 countries have made their way here to Italy. Some are legends in the sport of reining, some are newcomers, but they will all get a shot at the gold here at the FEI World Reining Masters Championship. If you want to take the pulse of reining on a worldwide level, this event gives you an accurate picture of the sport's growing popularity. 5 new countries qualified riders for competition. Many of them were treated like rock stars, with fans waiting for a chance to get a picture or autograph from their favorite. For Andrea Fippani, who grew up in Italy, the experience was a new one.
It's pretty amazing how big it got, not just Italy, but Europe, you know. You see what we have 14, 15 nations here, and half of them are from Europe. And, you know, if we look at the size of Europe compared to the United States or America and South America, you know, we're so little here. And on the other hand, you know, comparing the numbers, they're so grown up and everything is just, you know, it's changed a lot. When I was little, I was riding here with the American dream, and I don't know if I was 9 today if I would look at it the same way, because to me it was like we were just starting. There was just a few little people here that were trying to do reining, and then I dream about going over there because that's where the real thing was. And I think they're getting pretty real here too, you know. The horses are nice, the numbers are up. It's pretty amazing how big it's getting worldwide.
The weekend began with a jog, an event required by FEI officials to make sure each horse was ready for the competition. The day before the finals, judges and veterinarians had an opportunity to look at each horse entered. Craig Smersall brought 2 of his horses from the U.S. to the event, Tidal Wave Jack, the horse he qualified on and planned to compete on, and Mr. Montana Nick, a horse he and the owners were loaning to fellow teammate Tim McQuay for the competition. A long trip overseas gave the horses a different look than Craig had expected.
They're riding really good. They handled the trip. I mean, they're both fatter than a tick, so I think Alan said he thinks, I think they gained weight on the way over. I was like, oh, they're already fat to begin with, but you know, they're riding great, they look great, and I mean, they're good representatives of what our sport is back in the States, you know.
The horses were given just a few minutes to warm up before the inspection, and all but one was given the green light to compete. Tidal Wave Jack, the horse Craig Smersall planned to compete on, was held up for an additional jog. A cross-continent trip with just a few minutes of warm-up left the 9-year-old bay stallion a little stiff and gave officials cause for concern. On a second try, he was cleared for competition, but not before it put a bit of a scare into event organizers and the American team, who are favorites in the event. The 2005 FEI World Reining Masters was held in the newly built Pala Sturla, a privately built arena. It seats 3,000, but it was standing room only for this event. Jürgen Pieper of Germany and GB Jack were first in the arena. An enthusiastic crowd applauded their effort, and an early score of 2:12.5 set the pace. But it was teammate Stefan Broig and Mercury Starlight that sent the young audience into a frenzy. Stefan was a member of the 2005 silver medal FEI European Reining team and a 2004 FEI World Reining Masters finalist. The experience in those events gave him a leg up on some of the competition.
Yeah, it helps you always when you can compete again in the same event, but it's still exciting when you come, and it's new. It's a new game again. New riders from the other countries, and so it's but it helps you.
Whether it was experience or just plain skill, Stefan guided Mercury Starlight almost perfectly through pattern number 5.
Well, I bought him in the States. He got trained from Dot Bergen, and then Kim Sloan bought him. And then I bought him, and he's a really honest horse, and he got a lot of success in the States too. He was a finalist in the Futurity as a 3-year-old. So, like I said, he's a great horse. I like him a lot.
There may not be a happier man in all of Italy than Germany's Stefan Broig, who does his country proud with the 223 onboard Mercury Starlight. But some of the greats in the sport are warming up, and they are looking for gold. Up next, we'll go back to the Pallosterla in Minervio, Italy, and see how the Americans fare at the 2005 FEI Reining Masters Finals, exclusively on America's Horse. Welcome back. The odds-on favorites at the FEI World Reining Masters Championship here in Italy would probably be the Americans with their long experience in the sport, or maybe the Italians with their home court advantage. But halfway through the competition, it is Germany's Stefan Broig who leads the pack. The atmosphere at the 2005 World Reining Masters was positively electric. The young and boisterous crowd knew what to cheer for as the most recognized names and faces received loud applause and cheers. Switzerland's Jeanette Krahenbuhl got the crowd on its feet, riding an Archese-bred horse, Arc Golden Boy, in a memorable performance. The two were last year's FEI World Reining Masters restricted champions, as well as the bronze medalists in the Open division. Jeanette was also the NRHA 2004 non-pro reserve champion. Their score of 221.5 was good enough for 4th this year in the Open division, 1st in the restricted class again, which is for those countries who did not qualify for the finals at the 2002 World Equestrian Games.
I train here in Italy, and I have a big help with Martin Larcombe, and so this makes it different. Just if I would just sit in Switzerland, there would be no chance to compete in the big shows.
The crowd was also more than excited to see their countrymen Adriano Meacci and Andrea Fappani. Adriano rode O.T. Tari's San Pepe, and their effort culminated in a score that was a little disappointing at 210. Andrea, a former NRHA Open Futurity champion and the only European to hold that title, rode Chocolate Ciccolina. The 12-year-old chestnut stallion had a good go to the delight of the crowd, but the marks at the end of their ride were not able to crack the top spot. With the crowd behind them, they finished with 219.5. If reiners can be rock stars, Tim McQuay was Mick Jagger at this event. A deafening roar filled the arena as he and Mr. Montana Nick began their pattern, and the anticipation was palpable in the Pallosterla.
I don't even know what to say. It's a big thrill. There's no question about that. But you know, to be in our world at home, everybody knows me and sees me, and and like I've said before, everybody wants everybody to have good runs, and I know I've had some great runs. But to come here and know that the world knows it, it's a big thrill.
Borrowing a horse from teammate Craig Smersall, Tim and Mr. Montana Nick did not disappoint the reining fans in attendance. Their score of 224 sent the crowd to unheard levels at a reining event. They'd only hold that top spot for a few moments, though. Craig Smersall and Tidal Wave Jack, part of the U.S. gold medal winning team from the 2002 World Equestrian Games and the top pair in the CRI qualifying event for the U.S. back in August, rode a near-perfect pattern. A standing ovation and a score of 231.5 greeted the two at the end of their go, and for Craig, it was the perfect ending to a memorable event.
To come here when the pressure's on and to put one together, there's no better feeling than that. I don't think, when you got the pressure and you got the flight over, and there's a lot of, the crowd is crazy, and you come walking through that gate and they're going, they're screaming, and that's the best feeling I ever felt, for the crowd to be behind me before I even loped off, and then for my horse to hang in there as good as he did, and I'll never forget it.
That horse means a lot to me. We've owned him since he was a baby, and he had a great career, and then we kind of thought, well, we'll just retire him, and then he just sat in the stall, and he'd go on turnouts, and I just got to thinking that you know, what would it be like if we brought him back out again? And then our good friends Mike and Natalie McIntyre have had him there, and we asked Mike if he'd start riding him and take him to a horse show and gallop him through, and he marked at 2:27 with Mike McIntyre, and Craig says, oh, we gotta get him back out. And
You rode this same horse at the World Equestrian Games in 2002. It doesn't seem like he's lost a step.
No, he's been off since 2002, and then Mike McIntyre showed him this spring for me one time, and he looked great, and I said, I'm going to take him, and he said, he's ready. The pressure's on you, because, he's ready. And, this is a horse that, you know, he was a Futurity finalist, but and a Derby finalist, and, you know, he's won over $100,000, but every year of his life, he's gotten better and better and better. And for a reining horse, for that to happen for a reining horse, that says something.
And here's a final look at the 2005 FEI World Reining Masters results from the Palace Sturla in Minervio, Italy. So for the second time in 2 years, the Americans take gold and silver at the FEI World Reining Masters Championship. The bronze goes to Germany, which is where all these countries want to be in 2006 for the World Equestrian Games in Aachen. That's all from Italy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on America's Horse.